Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Frank Fear with my partner, Mickey Plumley. Greg will
Hey,
be
Frank.
joining us. Good to see you, Mickey. Greg will be with us in a few minutes. And, Mickey, we're excited. The season was going in a certain direction. And lo and behold, we're excited again. Great game coming up this Saturday in Tempe. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about last week's game. We'll talk about basketball. And we have a great guest tonight in Tom Madeira. And it's so good to see you. What'd you think about that game last week?
Oh, I loved it. Loved it. I tell you, we are definitely trending in the right direction now. I got the old battleship turned around. You know, if you got a battleship out in the middle of the ocean, sometimes it takes a little while to get it turned around. But Rich Rod has certainly got us headed in the right direction at this point. I thought it was a great effort on behalf of the Mountaineers. Uh, a couple of surprising things in the game. You know, we had a linebacker convert to running back and score two of our touchdowns for us last week. So that was an interesting twist on things. But it was good to see us put together 2 weeks back to back, and I'm looking forward to making it three in a row this week out in Tempe, Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see more, I think, of the running back and the two-way player. It was, one of the things I paid attention to when they interviewed, you could hardly hear him because he had a cold, but Rich Rod coming off the field. And his point stuck with me throughout the week. And that is that he said, we're experiencing the kinds of things that teams go through when they're making a turnaround, when they're going from not so good to better. He said it's unusual. We're doing it in one season. It's not being strung out, but that's a positive sign. I'll tell you though, Mick. I don't know if you've ever been out in Tempe, Arizona. We may have lucked out with the media placing us. It's going to be 11 a.m. That their time out there. I was there a couple years ago for a game, and this is no lie. I have a photo on my phone. They always have the temperature because they make a big deal out there. When teams are coming from the east, they have a tough time. And this is not hyperbole. It was 106 at kickoff. And the guy sitting next to me said, you guys will be okay in the first half, but come the second half, you just watch. And that's what happened. We didn't win the game. It was Michigan State playing Arizona State. And I looked at the record, and they really have an advantage when Eastern teams come out. But the Mountaineers are going to be ready. And if we can win, what a script to play Texas Tech, a top 10 team, in the last game of the season at home with a bowl bid on the line.
You're exactly right, Frank. I tell you, I've been out there a few times on business trips in my working career, and it was always just hotter than Hades. I'll never forget that all the restaurants, outdoor seating, they had these overhead pipes with water spewing out of them to put some humidity in the air. It was just so doggone dry. So I did check the weather forecast for this upcoming Saturday. It's going to be 71 degrees at 11 a.m. in the morning at kickoff. So hopefully it'll stay down like that throughout the entire game and give us a chance. We haven't done real well on the road this year. We've won one and lost four out when we're traveling, but hope to turn that trend around a little bit on this Saturday as well.
Yeah, there's absolutely no question about it. It's going to be cooler. That's fantastic. It is a tough place to play, and they're going to be playing without their starting quarterback, Sam Levitt, who really is an outstanding talent. But his replacement ran for 238 yards last week. And so we'll talk more about it in a few minutes, especially when Greg comes on board and after we talk with Tom. But the other thing that it's really a great time to be a Mountaineer. As you know, any time is a great time. But you look at the other sports, the soccer teams are doing really great. And the basketball team, the men are 3-0. We got a great game tomorrow night coming up against Pitt at home at 6 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. The women are 3-0, and God bless them, they play Duke on Friday night at Greenbrier at 7 p.m. on ESPNU. But I see that Greg's with us. Greg, you and I are crying in our soup because we have YouTube. And so anything that's on ESPN, we can't watch.
Uh, awful. Hello, guys. Yeah, I spent half the waking morning trying to figure out how to watch the game, and it was awful. It's gotten so bad, and it's my understanding that it's going to be the same way this coming weekend. So I'm already digging around trying to figure out my next move.
Well, I just Googled, and they said they're getting more serious now. The CEOs actually are involved, both CEOs, and so this couldn't come at a worse time because baseball season's over. Football season obviously is in gear. You can't watch Monday Night Football, and now you got basketball started. And ESPN, it's the go-to. Fox does a good job, but ESPN is the go-to place. And the other thing is, I can't watch ESPN Plus on my handheld because it's linked to Google. It's linked to YouTube TV on Google. So I mean, I can't even do that. So let's hope it gets rectified before the weekend so we can enjoy that. But
yeah, I kept kept trying to get me to go to HBO Max and pay $19 to watch the game, and I thought, well, I could have just gone up there and scalped the ticket probably for 10. It'd been a lot cheaper just to go up there and watch it.
right.
Yeah, it's crazy, and of course, it's done at the most opportune time for them. People are going to buy it just because they want to watch football, and that's the whole problem. And I've got some of mine rectified, but not all of it. And so what happened to the days when I had three brothers, and on Sundays we got two football games, pro games. One of us had to sit by the TV to keep where the screen rolled. You had to set it just so right so it wouldn't roll up and down. The other had to set and flip a channel back and forth to the two channels we got, and then the third one reached out the window and controlled the antenna and got it focused in. I said, what happened to those back when things were simple?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Greg, why don't we get Mickey and I were talking about the Colorado game. Let's get your thoughts quickly about the Colorado game, and then we'll bring our good friend Tom in so we can learn more about him and the exciting things he's doing these days and his connection to Mount Union and WVU and all that good stuff. But your thoughts about that game last weekend?
Well, my thoughts are a win is a win, number one. No matter how you get it, it's a win. I didn't think we played particularly well. I was a little shocked. I thought we'd play a lot better than what we did. I think with them coming in with a new quarterback, even though he was a freshman, a pretty talented guy, and that gave us some problems. And for the most part, we did. I mean, we sacked him a bunch of times, which I think you had mentioned. Their offensive line didn't protect very well, so we got to him and sacked him quite a bit. I just thought it was a so-so performance by our guys. But again, a win is a win, and anytime you get a win, it's a good thing. And I just hope we can keep building on this momentum and keep it going Saturday. But I thought we played okay, nothing great, just good enough. Hopefully the momentum will continue and keep it headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I think the one thing that bothers me a bit, and we'll turn to Tom after I say this, is that this is the second time this year that we have to go on the road and a team that we're playing has had a bye week. The Big 12's got to fix that. That happened in Kansas. They had a bye week to prepare for us, and then we went out to Lawrence and played them there. We got to do the same thing this time. That's just, all this stuff is computer stuff. The human side of it is then to analyze what the computer spits out to see if there are any adjustments that need to be made. And they really need to. This has got to stop. If anything, the bye week, they should be going on the road.
Right. Yeah. Scheduling hasn't been too fair. It's been kind of one-sided, but yeah. And not only that, you go out there and you play, an early game like that. You're traveling across the country, first of all, and then playing that early game. That's a double whammy. And you're right. It just shouldn't. this is the third time because we went to BYU in the middle of the week and played an odd game, and then you have to go on the road and travel thousands of miles and play an early game, and it's just I don't know, it just doesn't seem real fair, and I think they're going to have to look at that because especially for teams like West Virginia and Cincinnati that have to do all this traveling, they need to make that as convenient as possible, and they got to fix that. That's just not right.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, do you want to introduce Tom? Want me to do it? How do you want to proceed?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Since I got on here late, you guys already warmed up, so I'm still nervous. I know millions of people are watching, and I get nervous when it goes over 1 million.
Yeah, actually, we're getting close. 850,000. Yeah, we might get it this week. Hey, you never know. Any rate. Well, let me introduce Tom. We'll bring him on, and then I'll scram, and you start the interview, and then you can bring Mickey in. And we're just delighted. Tom is a legend in South Jersey, but there are two other connections here. Obviously, he was a grad assistant at West Virginia. The other connection is he played at Mount Union, and maybe some of the viewers aren't that familiar with Mount Union, but I am. And the thing about it, Tom, and I'm going to ask you about this to set it up. You played at Mount Union. The teams were good, but that was before Mount Union went on this incredible run. And I think something like 13 national championships. And then, as I understand it, you coached there just as they were beginning to make that move. In fact, I don't think they won the Ohio Conference until I think you were on the coaching staff, and then I think they've won like 26 of them since. But and my wife was a professor at Albion College. You guys won it in '93, and then Albion won it in '94. So I had a chance to experience what it's like to win a national championship at a D3 school, and it's very exciting. And enjoyed that immensely. And then we'll talk about your great high school coaching career that continues. You're in the South Jersey High School Football Hall of Fame. Tom Madeira, it is a pleasure to welcome you to Mountaineer Then and Now.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'll just ask the first question, then we'll bring you in. Talk about your road from Mount Union to Morgantown. And I know Greg's going to ask you, he has to ask you, it's in the contract. He's got to ask you about that Sun Bowl game. He's itching to ask you about that Sun Bowl game. I know. So let me get out here.
Sun Bowl and Fiesta Bowl. You brought up Mount Union, and I was coaching at Mount Union. I started there in '82. I was an assistant coach at a high school for 2 years, and then they hired me back as an assistant coach. And in fact, I'm leaving this weekend for Ohio. We're having our 40th anniversary of the first conference championship team in the history of Mount Union. And it's the 40th anniversary. And in those 40 years, they've won the conference championship 36 times.
Wow.
So, yeah, so they're doing pretty well. And when I was there, I wanted to get into Division I football. That was my goal. I worked camps. I volunteered at camps. I worked the Ohio State camp, the North Carolina camp. I got to know Jim Tressel really well. I interviewed with Jim Tressel twice when he was at Youngstown State. And both times he hired a graduate assistant from Ohio State. Well, I told myself I got to be a GA, and I wrote letters to 50 schools. And, one thing led to another. The first letter I got from Coach Nealon, they didn't need anybody. And in the spring, a guy that was supposed to come back resigned, and they needed somebody, and I ended up with the job. I very, very loved my 3 years at West Virginia.
Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that time at West Virginia, your role and some of the things you remember from your time with Coach Nealon.
Oh, God, I have some great memories. He hired me, he told me, one, I was older. I was 28 years old, and he wanted me in charge of the dormitory, and he didn't want somebody that the players knew, and he didn't want somebody young. He said he had a lot of problems with that in the past. So I had my own apartment up there, and it was interesting. We had staff meetings every morning at 7:30, and halfway through my first year, he goes, I have problems with that dorm all the time. He goes, I'm getting nothing this year. And I go, Coach, there's problems, trust me, but I can handle it. I said, if it's something I can't handle, you'll know. And I got one funny story with that. Our football floor was on the second floor of Towers. And the fire alarm goes off about 4 a.m, 2 a.m. I don't know when kids are coming back. And naturally, none of our guys want to leave. If it's a real fire, hell, we can jump out the window. Well, Chris Parker, our defensive tackle, comes out with his Boston Red Sox hat on, a pair of gym shorts, and he takes a baseball bat to the horn that's going off. And it just stops. Well, 2 weeks later, we're in a staff meeting, and I get, hey, Tom, I got this bill from Towers about a fire alarm. I go, pay it, Coach. But what, Coach, just pay it. And he looked at me and goes, okay, I'll just pay it. So it was good. I like I said, I love the people there. I love the time there. To this day, I'm very, very close with Kerlav and his wife, Maggie. Just a great, great experience. And, when I got into my head coach at high school, to the day that I resigned being a head coach, my terminology was what we used at West Virginia. My practice schedule was the schedule we used at West Virginia.
Awesome. So you took a whole lot of things then from West Virginia. It's awesome to hear. There's another coach I'm familiar with, I think in New Jersey, used to coach there, Jerry Moore. Do you, does that ring a bell?
Oh yeah. When I was, at West Virginia, Jerry, I want to say, was he at Elizabeth at the time? I'm not exactly sure, but he had sent a lot of his players from, he was at 2 schools, and I know one was Elizabeth. I can't remember the other one, but he sent a lot of his players to West Virginia. And at the time I was at West Virginia, we had a bunch of New Jersey players on our roster. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think Coach Nealon wanted to hire him just for recruiting purposes because he did send a lot of people there. And back in the day, now this was the 80s, this isn't today. He told Coach Nealon, he goes, you can't afford me. Yeah. And Coach Nealon asked him what he made. He told him, and Coach Nealon goes, yeah, you're right, I can't.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm familiar with him. He's originally from my hometown in Anstead, West Virginia, and he knew my father real well. So I got to talk to him, meet him a couple of times, and that was pretty exciting because he's pretty legendary from what I understand.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah. The other question, and Frank mentioned this, the Sun Bowl. I went to the Sun Bowl, and of course, they had Oklahoma State had Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders. They were really good. We got down to the last play of the game. Well, there's maybe 45 seconds left. We scored, and we went for 2 for the win. And I've said over and over, and I've asked Major Harris about this. I've asked, I don't know how many different players, and I get the same response every time. So I'm going to ask somebody you're a coach, so you understand and know what's going on. You're not just a student on the sideline, and you don't have to worry about offending Coach Nealon or anything like that. Trust me, he doesn't watch. But anyway, the play at the end of the game when we went for
I know the play.
Well,
I use it.
If I'm the coach and I have Major Harris on my team, I'm going to say in the huddle during the timeout, Major, we need 2 points to win the game. Figure out a way to get it and let him go and just go score the 2-point conversion. So we threw a pass play. Major says he threw a bad pass. It was a great play call, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody will say, yeah, should have just let Major take it.
I'll tell you exactly
what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I run the same play. I do it just a little bit different. We should balance. So Keith Winter, tight end. Am I still with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Keith Winter, tight end. And we shift to unbalanced. We were in twins with Keith Wynn was on balance. And then we motioned a guy, and he was supposed to run the flat. We were supposed to run 2 slants and 3 to the flat, and he had been wide open. Well, he wasn't. Major started to run around, threw the ball to Keith Wynn. Keith gets to the 1 yard line. He goes off the field, and Coach Nealon, hey, why weren't you in the end zone? Keith goes, Coach, I'm ineligible. I can't catch the ball. The refs didn't catch it. So that was very, very interesting. But I love the play. But because of that, I never wanted my tight end. I put my tight end backside, and I moved an offensive tackle over to unbalance. So then we had all eligible receivers. But there was a lot of interesting things that day. Number one, it was Christmas Day. Yep. And if you remember, we played in a snowstorm. Yep. So, and the day before it was 72 degrees, but that day it was, we were in a blizzard. I tell people this, Barry Sanders only returned punts and kickoffs. He wasn't good enough to play.
Yep, that's right.
Thurman Thomas and Hartley Dykes and Mike Gundy, and I think it was a 33-31 game or something, that close, but it was a hell of a football game. And the Sun Bowl was very, very well run. We had a great time. And, and I don't know if this factored into anything or not, but during that time, the rumor was Coach Nealon was going to Ohio State. And all the players were talking about it that week. So I don't know if that factored in or not, but that's some things that happened.
Yep, I remember the chatter, and I definitely remember the snowstorm. And you talked about it being 70 the day before, the day after it was as well, because our travel plans had us staying the day after the game and going back on whatever night that was. So we had the entire day the next day to spend, and we went over into Juarez, Mexico, and ran around all day in our shorts and T-shirts.
The snow was melting when we were at the airport. And, when you brought up the temperature in Tempe this weekend, the week we were there for the Fiesta Bowl, it was cold. It was not warm.
Yeah, fortunately, hey, Frank, I want to tell you this, and I know there's probably internet issues on my end, but his whole answer basically was cut out. I didn't hear it all. So I'm just going to assume he agreed with me. So, Mickey, I'm going to bring you in, and I'll have to go back and watch the show later tonight just to see exactly what he said before I text him and tell him that he's wrong. So, Mickey, you want to jump in?
Sure, Greg. Thanks. Hey, Tom. Nice meeting you here on this evening's forum. I was taking a look at your background. You coached. I think you had the third longest tenure of a high school football coach in the state of New Jersey. Is that accurate? You had 21 years as a head coach there?
Yeah, I was 11 years a head coach at Holy Cross High School. And then when I left there, I went to Burlington Township, and I was there 21 years. I had planned on staying 25, and then just the way things worked out, I wanted to help my son out a little bit and golf a little bit in the fall too.
How would you compare the challenges of coaching at the high school level versus coaching at the collegiate level? You have any thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts in it. When I was at West Virginia, I love the college atmosphere. I love the college coaching. People ask me that, okay, now that you're done with high school, would you, go take a college job? I go, no. When I was at West Virginia, we recruited December to the first week of February. We had spring ball. We had our summer camp. We had two-a-days. And in the summertime, unless the kids wanted a job or had to go to summer school, they went home. Now it's a 12-month for the kids. I'm a high school coach, and in the springtime, in six weeks in the spring, I got college coaches coming in to talk to me. And I'm going, you got kids playing Little League baseball. You got a family, and you're on the road 6 weeks in the spring and December, January, and February. To me, it's too much. And then when you throw in the transfer portal and the NIL, I think I'd rather be a high school coach.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you have more influence over a young man in
Yeah,
his high school days, perhaps, than you do by the time he gets to
yeah,
college.
yeah.
And
But again,
go ahead.
back in the '80s, I would have loved to have been, a full time coach. I think guys like Kurlab and Steve Dunlap, uh, Mike Jacobs, they molded those guys too. And I know I'm missing a bunch of other guys, but they molded those guys too. But it was a great, great time to be at West Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah. Was Joe Pendry still there
No,
coaching? He'd
no,
left by then.
yes.
How about Donnie Young? He was still around.
Who's that?
Donnie Young.
Oh, Donnie Young. Oh, yeah, he was a fixture. He wasn't a
Yeah. Yeah.
position coach when I was there. Uh, I forget his title. I want to say recruiting coordinator, but I'm not sure.
He was head recruiting coordinator for
Okay,
quite
yeah,
some
because
time.
he was Coach Nealon's right hand man. Him and Mike Karen.
Yep. Yeah. What a guy. We've had so many people on the show to talk so much, about him. I I was interested in your comments about as a graduate assistant. A lot of people aren't familiar with that term, graduate assistant, and what all it entails. Maybe you could expound a little bit more on what all a graduate assistant does. And if you have any more of those stories, I'd love to live them because when I got there, I got to Morgantown in 1966, and they just completed Twin Towers, and we had 3 dedicated floors just for the kids that were on scholarship. Boys were in one dorm, girls were in another. And our, what we called a proctor on our floor, was a guy that had to try to maintain some semblance of law and order. But it was like living in the wild, wild west. I mean, you never knew what was going to be coming at you around the
Yeah,
corner. And I'm sure you've got quite a few stories that will never
yeah,
be heard by anyone.
yeah. Things were different back then. I tell kids at school, I go, what you get arrested for now in college. Back when I was in college, we call it a college prank. So things are different now. But like I said, the dormitory was tough. I mean, we had a rule: no girls could be on the floor. They had problems with that before. But I'm going to tell you what, the kids we had, they listened. They were great kids. I got a sad story too. I had an apartment on the football floor. I had my own kitchen, or I'm sorry, I had my own bedroom, bathroom, living room, and naturally we ate, in the cafeteria. But the guy that lived next to me, right next door to me, was Chris Gray, and he
Uh,
was in 9/11.
Yep.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there was some funny stuff. The kids, they would watch TV in the lounge every night, and this is a funny story. Major Harris loved to play chess, and he would play chess. Him and A.B. Brown would play chess. But I noticed this: if Major knew he couldn't win, all of a sudden he'd make a move, or something, but the chessboard got knocked over. It was an accident, but the board got knocked over.
I'll I'll share a quick story here with you on one of the things we did to our GA that was responsible for our floor. We decided a lot of guys on the team just, quite frankly, didn't care for him, and he took his responsibilities way too seriously. So on our senior year, between Christmas and the early part of May, all of us saved and gathered as many newspapers as we could find in and around the dorm and on campus. And early May comes, mid-May perhaps, and this guy goes out to take his last 2 final exams, and then he's headed back home to get out of Morgantown as soon as he finishes those 2 finals. Well, we talked the maid who was cleaning up this fellow's room to let us in while he was away taking his final exam. And we must have had 10,000 pounds of newspapers. We crumbled those newspapers up into tiny balls and we began stuffing his room full of crumbled up newspapers. And by the time we finished, we had every cubic square inch of space completely filled with crumbled up newspapers. He had his suitcases sitting on the bed, and we all just hung around until he came back. He thought he was going to be able to just pick up his suitcases and hit the road. But when he opened that dormitory door and tried to get in that room, he was like a squirrel trying to
Yes.
rustle around looking for nuts in a tree.
Yeah, throwing the
But
papers
pranks,
away.
I mean, the pranks that you refer to, they happen every day
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. And I was fortunate, being in charge of the football floor, they listened to me because they knew over my head was the head guy. And we had one incident that wasn't very good. And I had to go in the next morning and tell him what happened. And when I tell you the 5 guys he brought in, it wasn't pretty. He was livid. So, when you have the head guy over top of you, that kind of helps a little bit.
Yeah. Did you have study hall responsibilities also, or is
No.
that fell to somebody else?
What we did, right after practice, we went down and we lifted weights, and from there we went up and had training table, and from training table they had about 45 minutes to rest or whatever, and then they had study hall right then there, right in the facilities building, till like 9. And just with that in mind, I got another story involving Chris Parker. Coach Nealon was pretty rigid. So after practice every day, he would come downstairs from his office to the weight room at a certain time. Chris Parker would sit in the weight room and do nothing. He'd look up at the clock and he'd see what time it was. He would go sit in the sauna, come out sweating like crazy, go sit on a bench, and here comes Coach Nealon. Coach Nealon walked by him. Chris, that's the way to work. Nice job, Chris. Good job. I looked at Parker. I go, you work harder at being lazy than if you just worked out. But I'm going to tell you what, Chris Parker could play football. Parker.
He was a phenomenal player.
Oh, yeah. He was a player. No
Yes,
question about that. Well, those are fond memories, ones that stay with you for a lifetime, huh?
The 3 years there, when I got there, everybody said what the people of West Virginia are like. You don't realize it until you leave. I left and went to Navy, and I'm not talking about the people in the building. I'm talking about, everybody, just the community, everybody. The people at West Virginia, just second to none.
How did you make that transition from WVU to Navy? What brought that about?
Coach Nealon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got a funny story with that too, because Elliot Uselak was looking for 4 more coaches, and he was talking with Coach Nealon. Coach Nealon says, hey, you got to get up to Annapolis, talk to Coach Uselak. He hired me right after the interview. Well, I'm sitting in meetings the first year, and I'm listening to him talk, and I'm like, doggone, that sounds just like Coach Nealon. Mannerisms sound just like Coach Nealon. I started thinking, that wasn't Coach Nealon. That was Coach Schembeckler. They both had taken on, mannerisms and sayings that, that they got from Michigan. But, yeah, they worked together at Michigan, and that's how I ended up in Navy.
Gotcha. Interesting story.
When I was at Navy, reality hits in college coaching. Elliot got fired, and when he got fired, we were all kind of out of a job. And next thing you know, I ended up at Holy Cross in Delran, New Jersey. And, things worked out. I planned on staying there 3 years and getting back into college. And next thing you know, I had another child. And I go, this life's not that bad. And then when I was at Holy Cross, ended up having 6 players from Holy Cross go to West Virginia, and 5 out of the 6 played. And I think a bunch of them were captains.
Fantastic.
Well, hey, it's been real interesting chatting with you about the good old days here. I appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
Thank you.
I'll turn it back over to Greg here.
Absolutely, Tom. Great stories. Love hearing these old stories. And you mentioned a lot of names that we're all familiar with too, back from the Mountaineer days. Some good football players, good football teams, and great coaches. Just such fond memories of for guys my age and are older, I guess, like Mickey and Frank are so much older than me. Good memories for them too.
Yeah.
But and I'm just kidding you too. Don't get angry with me. I always tease them about their ages. They're so much older than me. But I coached at high school for about 30 years, and I don't think that when people look at coaches, and I have a son who's a college basketball coach, they think that the goal for everybody is to be a head coach at Duke or be a Division I head coach and that sort of thing. I found that the influence that you have over these young folks, and I know you can have that on the college level as well, but it's a different kind of influence. And and I saw the other day someone said, when someone says I learned this from Coach so and so, or this teacher was my favorite teacher or whatever. To me, that resonates with, clear to the bone and to the heart. And I think coaching high school is such a rewarding job, and in so many different ways than what college coaching is. And I just wonder what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, I've said things and done things that I don't think, I don't have second thoughts about it. And years later, kids tell me, they go, that saying that you had on the field, I use it to this day.
Yep.
I've had kids tell me, you were like a father figure to me. And you don't realize it at the time till they come back and tell you those things. And it does make you feel good that, hey, maybe you did make a little bit of a difference besides just trying to win football games. Maybe, you did other things too.
Yeah. I always found that to be true. And you hear those, you say that, it reminds me of a funny thing that happened this weekend. I'd posted something on Facebook that said, nothing's better than being a teacher and having a former student come back and say you were my favorite teacher or something to that effect. Yeah. And I had one of my former students then message me and says, yeah, I remember that time so-and-so, I can't remember his name, you let him jump out the window. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. I don't remember that. Because I taught on the second floor of this place. And she said, well, you didn't actually let him. She said, he said he was going to, and you told him, do whatever you want to do. It's up to you. Yeah. That's your choice. And he did. So, fortunately, nobody got hurt. I want to get a disclaimer out there. But I didn't remember that one, Frank. I'll let you jump in here for a few minutes with Tom.
Yeah. Tom's a modest guy, but, he talked about landing with the Lancers at Holy Cross. He was coach there for 11 years, as he mentioned. What he didn't mention is he won 2 state titles and won 90 games. And then when he went to Burlington Township, went to the playoffs, I think, was it 20 times? 20 times you went to the playoffs at Burlington Township, and you were in the finals another time in 2018. And one of the things we did in doing our research about you, Tom, that was really, really talking about the influence on players was watching the video of one of your former players interview you last year. And it was really delightful. And that person, the former player, was so excited about an opportunity to interview you as his former coach. And, that satisfaction, as Greg's talking about, that's what makes teaching a profession. And the impact is beyond anything we can think of. It takes people coming back years later for us to have a sense of the magnitude of the impact.
Because again, at the time, you don't realize it.
Yep.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think altogether you won. Anyway, I want you to talk a bit about the work you're doing now with your son. But I think you've won almost 250 games, high school games during your career in South Jersey. And you know, you could have coached at Burlington Township longer, but talk to us about what's happening now. Talk to us about your son and how you're helping him. You know, as you're moving toward retirement, and you're going to be with him for the last few years before you retire. So please, let us know what's going on.
You know, first of all, you know, when we talk about, you know, your wins and things like that, I'm very, very, very fortunate to have great players. And, you know, when you have great players, it makes it a heck of a lot easier. But the last couple of years, my son had always wanted to play against me. But before I get into that, when I took the job at Holy Cross, my son was a year old. I got pictures of him, you know, walking on the field with me. He could barely walk. He was 1 year old when I took the job at Holy Cross. So the first 11 years of his life, he grew up at Holy Cross High School. And now he's the head coach and athletic director at Holy Cross High School. So it's, you know, life comes full circle. Wow. And, you know, since Holy Cross isn't very big anymore, when I was there, we had 1,200 students, and I had 50 freshmen on the team. I had 75 to 80 on the varsity. You know, so we were a very big high school. Like one of the state championships that we won, we played against Don Bosco, which is a national power here in North Jersey. But they're a small school now, and he couldn't play. We couldn't play against each other. So he asked me, he said, Dad, how about come helping me coach? And I love the golf. And, you know, you get older and, you know, you're doing this in the summer, you're doing it, you know, 6-7 days a week in the fall. And I said, you know what? I'm going to help my son. So I go to practice 1 or 2 days a week. I golf 1 or 2 days a week, and I'm at the games every Friday night. You know, so you know, I'm able to slow down a little bit, enjoy a little bit of fall golf, and I get to be on the field with him. And as kind of like a senior consultant, you know, hey, I don't like this. I don't like how this is going. We need to change this, and you know, just things like that. So it's very rewarding. And the other thing, the kids there and the parents are so like, they come up to you and they thank you for like coming to help out. I go, it's not that big of a deal, but they're very, very respectful, and they thank you for doing those things, which is nice.
Hey, Frank, I want to interrupt here just a second. No, that's right. Funny he said that about his son asking him and him getting to golf like that. I know my son has had some opportunities, and he always tells me, he said, now, Dad, when I get the head coaching job, you're coming on to my staff, and, you know, you can do this. And I'm like, you think maybe you ought to ask me if I want to do that? I'm not so sure. I coached basketball for 30 years. I'm retired. I'm not so sure I want to be coaching on your staff. How about if I just sit by the bench and watch the games? Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, Frank. Go ahead.
No, not at all. Not at all. But, you know, Greg, we've talked about this so many times. And, you know, one of the things, the real joys of doing this show, Tom, is to have guys like you on to just share your journey with us. And it's so thematic that the values, the way of thinking, the influence that, you know, we were just up in Morgantown for the celebration. Bobby Bowden to the 75 Peach Bowl team, and Mickey and his teammates from the 69 Peach Bowl team were there, and you meet these guys and they come on the show, and as I said, it's thematic. Guys who really care, who've had an impact, and are still giving back in a variety of ways. I mean, Mickey is on a board, a nonprofit board that's giving back to his community, and it's just great. It's just great for us to experience, and you know, for us, it's great pride to have an opportunity to have guys like you on the show, sharing your stories and what you've done with your life. And you know, we're going to be like one of those parents. Thank you.
Yeah. And like I said, one of my best friends on the staff, as soon as I got to West Virginia, him and I became very, very close, and that's Bill Kurlavich. And I got some great ones, but we can't talk about some of them. But I'll tell you what, he loved his play, and I was so happy to see him be put in the Hall of Fame this year. My only regret is by helping my son coach, I wasn't free to be at that game and see him be inducted into the Hall of Fame, but he very, very deserving.
Yeah, tough. 8 stones for breakfast, but the love that the players had for him, not only while they were there, but later, is just absolutely amazing. But he deserves to be in it, and it's great that he's in the hall because position coaches like that often don't get an opportunity to get into the hall, and so it's fantastic.
He really made an impact on two sections, either the defensive lineman that he coached, and then his last year when I was there, he did the outside linebackers, and then also the kids he recruited from, Eastern PA. He was a legend in the area when it came to recruiting, and the kids loved him. He's a down-to-earth guy. He's one of them. Just a fantastic human being. Him and his wife Maggie.
Yeah, that whole staff. We've talked on this show that you just don't hire coaches. You hire coaches from a program.
I'll give you an example. All right, I get the job at Holy Cross, and I don't think we had anybody that year. But Mike Jacobs comes in the office, and he goes, I'm not recruiting anybody. He goes, but, we know each other. So I come here to have a cup of coffee with you. And, relationships are important. And, when you do have a guy down the road, then, you want to kind of steer him in that direction. But that's how those guys were. Everybody on that staff, the Wallace brothers, Doc Holliday, the guys I work with, Billy Legg and Mike Dawson and Wayne Brown, Dave Preston, great people.
Great memories too.
God,
let me ask you. Let me ask you a question. If you're following the Mountaineers these days, your thoughts about the team, Rich Rod coming back. Do you follow much? And,
oh yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. One, I think that what I've noticed is they play hard, and I always would tell my team this, and I tell my coaches this. I would tell my position coaches, the position you coach, that's going to be a reflection of you, but the total team is going to be a reflection of your head coach. And one thing I noticed about West Virginia kids is they're playing hard. They're playing really hard for Rich. And, you're going to make mistakes, like we talked, like I heard earlier about the Colorado game. It wasn't a perfect game, but when you play hard, good things happen. And they're doing that. If you compare the eras, like when I was at West Virginia, you built a team. Like when you took the job, like when Coach Nealon took the job, I wasn't there. Okay. But he had to take what he had and make the best of it. And him and his staff from day one then had to recruit players to come in and do the things that they wanted to. Nowadays, with the transfer portal, what Dion did at Colorado a couple of years ago, hey, you guys got to leave. I'm going to bring my own guys in. So that's a lot different now. It used to be, I remember my first year at West Virginia in the spring. Mike Fox is a skinny freshman or sophomore. And, we had Skip Fuller and Parker and Summits and Brad Hunt, Pat Marlette. And these guys are being developed. There was no transfer portal. Yeah, Kurlab yelled at me, I'm leaving. So it's a little bit different now. But, I think, knowing Rich and the way he played, he's going to attract a lot of tough, hard-nosed kids.
Yeah, I think we're beginning to see that. When some people were saying we're not going to see it maybe at all, but it'll take longer. But you're seeing now that Rich Rod style of football, and it's going to be a test this weekend. In fact, we're going to shift now. You're welcome to stay with us if you'd like to chat with us. We're going to talk about the Arizona State game, but it's exciting. I mean, it really is, and we need that. And the thing is, Mickey and I were at the game, the TCU game, and to see the excitement in that stadium that night was just phenomenal. And it just shows you what great fans Mountaineer fans are. And when you
People don't
win,
realize that.
oh, they just
I'll
don't.
tell you a quick story. In the '88, after the Syracuse game, and it was a cold, rainy night, nobody left the stadium. Somebody came in the locker room. They said, "Hey, the fans want you guys to come back out." And the team went out and took a lap around the stadium, and that just it was a cold, miserable night, and nobody left that stadium till the team went back out. And it gives you goosebumps. It really does.
And Frank, I'll say this, the best I can remember, I was there. I remember that well. I don't remember a lot from that game, but I remember that part.
In the Penn State game, when we got to the stadium 2 hours before kickoff, the student section, you couldn't get a seat.
Yep, that's right.
What an amazing year. And I think in 3 years, it'll be the 40th reunion of that team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about this weekend's games, guys. We talked about a bit, Greg, with Mickey before you joined us, but I need to make an announcement because I didn't communicate to you guys the winner of we do a pick-em, Tom, each week, and it's just a huge prize. It hasn't been identified yet, but it's a huge prize at the end of the season. Last year, as they say in the monastery, Mickey kicked our ass. I think it was something like I think he won 7 games over the season, maybe 8. But this year, Greg is in the lead. He has 4. Mickey has 3. I was pulling up the rear like I did last year, but I won last week. I was only 5 points off.
Yeah.
And so now it's 4, 3, and 3 guys with 2 games left.
Ooh.
And, I've never been so nervous. My blood pressure pills, I've been taking, actually, I've been going through a bottle a day. Just too much pressure. Anyway, so what we do is we talk about our keys to the game, Tom, and then we make a pick, and you're welcome to join us.
Okay.
Who wants to go first, guys, with the keys to the game? Mickey, do you want to go?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give it a shot here. It's going to be an interesting game, I think. It's going to depend a lot, not only on how we play, but which Arizona State University team shows up. They've had some very good games this year. They've had some very bad games. They beat Texas Tech early on in the season, which is impressive, looking at the record that Texas Tech has put together. However, they lost to Houston, which we beat. So if you do some comparative scores there, Houston beats them, we beat Houston, we should beat ASU, right? They only beat Baylor and TCU by a field goal. And so they've had some up games. They've had some down games. I guess what concerns me that you mentioned early on, Frank, is in this scheduling process. They had a bye week last week, so they've had an extra week to prepare, which means a lot. Can make a big impact on the game. In addition to that, they lost their starting quarterback. I think most people know that. He had season-ending foot surgery a 3 weeks ago, but his backup is in there, and here we are faced again with another dual threat quarterback. His replacement, has thrown maybe 52% completion rate on his passes, but he ran for 228 yards in their last contest. So again, I think the defense is going to have to put pressure on the quarterback as always. Our defense is structured such that we have to be able to stop people on first and second down and put them in a third and long situation. Last week, as a tribute to the defense, we had 7 sacks and 15 tackles for losses, TFLs. So I think that's the kind of performance that the defense is going to have to come up with again. Every week I'm getting more and more confidence in the offense. And of course, Scotty's done just an exceptional job developing as a QB. So I think the real key to the game this week is going to be, how well do we play complementary football with the defense, special teams, and the offense complementing the work that each of their counterparts do. I think that's going to be the real key to the contest this week. And I do like the fact that even though it's an 11 a.m. start time, we played well with noon or better start times this year. We beat Houston with a 12 noon start time, and we played very well last week against Colorado with the 12 noon start time as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the time zone change impact has on the game. But I look for us to come out. Of course, victory is going to be dependent on how well we perform. But in this case, I think it's going to have a lot to do also in which Arizona State University team shows up.
Okay. Very, very good as always. Greg, lay it out there.
I was hoping Mickey would go ahead and give his score so I could undercut him. But and I'll say this, I like following Mickey on this because I know he does tremendous research and has all these stats and everything, and I don't. And I'm not bragging about it. I just don't do that. And so I can just say I agree with what Mickey said. But I'll say this. I think the keys to the game are going to be the keys to the game. You got our offensive line has to run block well and protect. Our defense has to contain that quarterback. Again, another dual threat quarterback, which we struggle with a little bit. If you'd have told me last week we'll have 7 sacks and 14 tackles for a loss, I would never believed it would have been a 7-point game. So I think it's those little things that we got to take care of. The inopportune penalties, time for those things. Making mistakes like that, little mistakes, maybe going down short of the first down marker or whatever the case may be. But we need to possess the ball, not turn it over. And I think the way we're trending, we're going to be okay. I think we got some confidence now. Seems like early in the season, we weren't playing a lot of confidence, but it seems like we've regained that. And, one thing I wanted to mention too that Tom mentioned, I've been saying since about the middle of the season that one thing I think we have to look at and look for with our team is, and for the future is how well these guys perform under duress. When they're out there getting shellacked, by 30, are they still playing hard? And I think that's one thing that you can say about this team, and Tom's already said it, they play hard. And they have not quit playing hard the whole season, regardless of game situation, opponent, whatever the case may be. They continue to play hard. And as long as we do that, good things are going to happen. And, these guys, I think, they know. And if you're not out there playing hard, you're likely not going to be playing there next year. And with Rich and the way he is. And I think that's key that we continue to play hard. But I think, just take care of the football. Don't turn it over. Just play like we've been playing. And I think, like I said, the trend is heading upward. And, we can our running game's getting a little bit better. Scotty Fox is getting better each week. And, I just think we just need to keep improving in that regard. The keys to the game are going to be the keys. And that's, special teams got to perform. Everybody has to perform. And, our defense has to get pressure on the quarterback and keep him contained. I think that'll be crucial for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me go next, and I usually go last and give my score last. Let me go last and give my score first.
Okay.
To be fair, I've got look at it here. West Virginia 24-21 is what I have. Here are the thoughts. Uh, Arizona State's well coached. You know, when Dillingham started it, Kenny Dillingham, the head coach, I wasn't a real fan. It reminded me of how I felt about Satterfield at Cincinnati when he came from Louisville, but they've both proven to be really good in their new locations. This is an interesting team because, as we've talked about it, Mickey brought it up. They lost Sam Levitt, who's an outstanding quarterback. Anybody who saw that game, the college football playoff game last year against Texas, they saw firsthand how good he was. I saw him play at Michigan State, and then he transferred out there. It's a team that is balanced. They like to run. They're pass first, but they like to run. And obviously, as Mickey said, that Jeff Sims, who is the replacement quarterback, who's a transfer from both Nebraska and Georgia Tech, ran for 228. And just like Mickey said, he's a 50-50 passer. And so if you can stop him from running, because he really is probably the primary threat on the ground, it's going to force him to pass. The thing that's odd about this team is that they are not a very good third down team. Very average, about 25%, 30%. They're almost 65% as a fourth down team, which means that they're able to call the plays, the schemes when they need to. The other thing I think we've got to watch is they got a transfer kicker by the name of Jose Gomez, whose money inside the 40, shaky, that's probably too strong, but not as accurate anytime he gets beyond the 40. He's a transfer from Eastern Michigan. A lot of these guys are transfers. So that's something we've got to watch. Another piece is their linebackers are exceptionally good. They're all seniors. Jordan Crook has 33 solos. Miles Rouser is a defensive back. He's very good as well. Keyshawn Elliott is probably their best linebacker, but their D line is not as strong as their linebacking. They play well as a defensive unit, but if you look for the weakness, I wouldn't call it weakness, but when you look where you can do some damage, is that defensive line. And so that means, again, our offensive line hopefully can get some avenues, channels, etc. Boy, that sail route last week with the running back out of the that was a great play for a long pass, the wheel route, and so hopefully we can spring that. At any rate, again, 24-21, and let's do the route again. Go through the group again. Mickey and also Greg, your score pick, and then we'll hear from Tom.
I'm gonna pick WVU 28-24. Dang,
Okay, Mickey, you're up.
She went after Mickey. What was I thinking? Go ahead, Mickey.
Well, Frank, you better get another bottle of those blood pressure pills. So you're going to need them this week. I'm going to go WVU 27 and Arizona State 21.
Okay. I'll tell you, you guys are going to. I'll tell you, Greg and Mickey are going to have a powwow after the season to talk about these scores. But yeah, well, but you know the thing about
I told you his new nickname is Bob Barker.
But you know the being in the 20s, it just feels right. I mean, it just does. Yeah. Okay, Tom, now speak truth to us because obviously we have no idea what that is.
I'm hoping the time change isn't that big of a deal because if I'm correct, is that 1:00 Eastern Standard Time?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. Now, it's interesting that it's an 11 o'clock game. Usually they go 12 o'clock, but I know when I was at West Virginia, the players like playing first thing in the morning. They like to get up have breakfast, have our meetings, get on the bus, and get to the stadium, whether it was home or away. They hated 7:30 at night games because you were in a hotel, whether it was Lakeview or on the road, you're in a hotel room all day long. So I think, the time change shouldn't be that big of a deal for them. I'm old school. The team that controls the line of scrimmage and protects the football, don't turn the ball over, control the line of scrimmage. And again, I like the way Rich has these kids playing hard, and I think they'll do both of those. And I'm not good at predicting scores, but I'm looking for a WVU win again.
Fantastic. Hey, we all think WVU is going to win. Come on, Mountaineers, come through for us. We need it.
Yeah.
Real
quick, I'm going to tell you, there's another guy that lives in my area, a big West Virginia guy. He's a minister in the military, and you guys are all going to know him. Number 30, Freddie Boom Boom Smalls.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him at a basketball game last. His son played against Burlington Township. I saw him at a basketball. What a great, great guy and a great football player. But I'm friends with him in the area.
Yeah, that's awesome. He's been on the show. I think we've had him on. I know I had him on my show a couple of times and talked to him in Morgantown. Great guy. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, a true Mountaineer. There's absolutely no question about that. Fantastic. Well, Tom, this was a delight. It was so great to get to know you a bit better, and for the audience to get to know you better. If they didn't know you before, they do now. And God bless you, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Like I'm still friends with a lot of guys on social media. Eugene Napoleon, like he'd be, let's go Mountaineers.
That's right.
Let's go Mountaineers.
Yeah, thank you, Tom.
Thank you. I appreciate
you, Tom.
Bye-bye.
All right, Frank, I tell you what.
What a guy. Wasn't that great?
Yeah, and
guy.
when you start reading the bio and all the information, it's just fascinating, just legendary,
Yeah.
And
hey,
that's one good thing.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's one great thing about doing this show is, people get to see these folks that they may not know. They may not have heard of this fella, unless you've studied those type of things. And what a great story. And with the West Virginia connections makes it even better.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Talking about West Virginia connections, I didn't check this out with Darren. I should have before the show, and I didn't, so I apologize. Darren, did the audio tape that I downloaded, did that, have you got that? Can that be played? Oh, fantastic. The reason I bring it up, and Mickey, I don't know if you've ever heard this tape, it's only a minute long. It is Bobby Bowden talking. I'm not sure, but I think it was the last speech that he ever gave in Morgantown, not too long before he passed away. And he talked about his experience as the coach at West Virginia, the influence it had on him at Florida State. And then he talked about the people of West Virginia. It's only a minute long, but I tell you what, I couldn't, it was difficult to listen to because you get emotional listening to it. And Darren, if you could cue that up.
The success that we had at Florida State in football, I attribute to my being at West Virginia University for 10 years. Now look, I coached 57 years in college. The best win of all those years, wherever I coached, was right here. That was in 1975. We beat Pitt.
The snap. McKenzie kicks it. It is long enough. McKenzie kicks it. It is good. The ball game is over.
I always pictured the West Virginians tough people. That's the one thing that you can identify with West Virginia. They are tough, unspoiled people. We'll always love West Virginia, and we'll always love the people in West Virginia.
And we'll always love Bobby Bowden.
Awesome. Awesome.
Amen.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
That is really good, Frank. Thanks for doing that.
Well,
that is wonderful.
Yeah, people like him don't come along every day, and
that's for sure.
Incredible.
Yeah, that is. Thanks for playing that.
You know, Frank, when you hear him talking, when we had Terry on, when you listen to Terry talk, it just, I mean, he's his father's son. You can tell that for sure. I mean, that just sounds so much like him, and that was that just brought back the memory of having him on the show. What a fun time that was.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you and I have a pre and post game show. If you could put the graphic up, we'll tell the folks about the pregame show. It's again with a 1 o'clock Eastern kick, 11 o'clock Mountain Time. Greg and I will be with you on Saturday, so join us on the Voice of College Football West Virginia on YouTube, that channel, and we'll see you at 11:30 to 12:30 interactive, so you can be part of the show. And then if you could put up the post-game graphic, we'll be with you approximately 4:30. We're thinking for the post-game show from Arizona State, from Tempe, and we just hope we got another celebration time as you and Shane had last week.
Yep, I hope so, and we're looking forward to it. And like I said, we just got to go out there and play. We want another win. And, you know, Frank, if they win this one, then they have a chance to be bowl eligible, believe it or not.
Yep.
Who would have thought that 3 weeks ago, you know? So that would be a huge game in Morgantown, you know, for that last game of the season. Man, you talk about an atmosphere. I guarantee you'll have it that night. So hopefully we can go out there and take care of business, and look forward to doing that. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and, you know, I got to give a shout-out to Mark Parsons. Mark is the one that lined up Tom for us tonight. And, Darren, if you can put up the graphic of our guests next Wednesday, another person, you may not know the name, like Tom's. Wib Newton was a linebacker, played for Bobby Bowden. He's now another one of these success stories after leaving West Virginia. He's now Dr. Newton, and he's nationally acclaimed counselor, individual and family counselor. He's going to be with us, and then you can see the then and now pictures to the left. He's going to be with us Wednesday night next week, November 19th, always at 7 p.m. and then later in the archives.
And Frank, I don't know if we'll have video of it or not, but I think Mickey and I are going to have a session with him after the show's over. See if we can't get our heads fixed a little bit. Looking forward to that.
Yeah,
it might be worth videotaping. That could be a big seller.
Yeah, that's always a problem when you have a counselor on. You never know. Halfway through the show, we may start getting an analysis. That's frightening.
or he might just go, Good night. Hey, guys, great job tonight. Mickey, thank you very much for joining us again. Always good to hear your analysis of the games and your great questions you ask. Lots of fun. Love you, my man. And it's good to have you again. Frank, thanks to you, as always, putting all this work in. Darren, thanks to you for doing all the backroom work and making this production what it is. Do a great job. So we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. We appreciate our guests, and we look forward to coming to you on Saturday with our pregame show about 11:30. So let's go Mountaineers, and we will see you then. Good night, everybody.
The success that we had at Florida State in football, I attribute to my being at West Virginia University for 10 years. Now look, I coached 57 years in college. The best win of all those years, wherever I coached, was right here. That was in 1975. We beat Pitt.
The snap. McKenzie kicks it. It is long enough. McKenzie kicks it. It is good. The ball game is over.
I always picture the West Virginians tough people. That's one thing that you can identify with West Virginia. They are tough, unspoiled people. We'll always love West Virginia, and we'll always love the people in West Virginia.